Hello, everybody. This is Restorative Yoga, and I'd like to work on feet and lower legs today. I was doing some stuff in the backyard this weekend, and I wasn't being careful of my feet. And when your feet are unhappy, you find out how important they are. Has anybody ever had that experience? Feet swell, they get things like plantar fasciitis, sometimes toe arthritis, different things can happen to your feet. And it's just not the feet. And we're going to specifically address feet today, but it's not just the feet that are affected. Your feet are a very important energetic connection with the earth. They ground us. They provide that sort of rebound energy up the legs so we have a spring in our step. But in yoga philosophy, we also see the connection of the feet to the root chakra, which supports the whole spine. So issues in the low back, even shoulders and neck, digestion, all of this can be affected by your feet. So when I say we're going to work on feet, it's a little bit of misadvertising because we're actually working on your whole system, but we're going to use the feet as a gateway. I've got my yoga massage balls. If you don't have these little babies, maybe you've got a tennis ball, grab it from the dog. If you don't have any ball type thing like this, maybe you could just grab a washcloth or a small hand towel. If you take that, ball it up and put an elastic or two around it, it will give you kind of the sort of same effect. Other than the tennis balls, the other props I was going to use today were a few blankets and pillows. Also, if you wanted to have an eye pillow for your restorative practice tonight, you could have that. So I'm going to get set up on my mat and get ready to start working on my feet. I'm going to start standing. We're not going to be standing for a long time. I just want to get a start standing. If you find that you have a little bit of difficulty with balancing, you might want to be close to a wall or have a chair close by. So I'm going to take my massage ball or your tennis ball. I'm going to place it under my happier foot. Now I had one foot that really had a full-blown temper tantrum on the weekend. So I'm going to go under the other foot. And I'm just going to let the foot roll over the ball. Now, if you're using something like a small tea towel or a hand towel with the elastic, then take your toes and your foot and try to pick it up or massage or change the shape of the towel under your foot. That's going to have a very similar effect. Alternatively, you can sit in a chair on the floor and massage the sole of your foot with your fingers. So there's a couple different ways to approach this. So you can see I'm just rolling the ball forward and back from the heel to the toes, trying to get over on the big toe side of the foot and over to the baby toe side of the foot. And you don't have to put a lot of pressure on the foot, but if you could please take a lot of your attention and focus it on the sole of your foot. Notice where you run into places where you don't have any sensation, or you run into places where there's way too much sensation. If you find a place, now I found one right there. Whoa, yeah, right there. I'm going to just hang out and put a little bit of downward pressure on my prop. Take a breath or two. Just trying to wait to see if I can release that little adhesion in the connective tissue. And then I'm going to roll out again softly. Now, if you're getting bored of doing the back and forth roll, you can put your heel on the ground. Put your prop under the ball of the foot and then wiggle and separate the toes. So try to create movement of the metatarsals over your prop. This again could be a really interesting journey. You can put the prop a little bit more on the outside edge of the ball of the foot or the inside edge of the ball of the foot and give it a wag and a wiggle. Good. Now let's take your foot off your prop and just stand back in your mountain pose. Now, I was saying about how the feet are this grounding into the earth. They provide a spring in the step. There's information translated from the feet right up through your hip joint to your back. Does any of that start to make sense in your experience right now? Is that starting to be more practical for you? Then I'm going to take the ball over to the other foot. Now, this is the foot that was giving me a bit of trouble. If you have a foot that's a bit troublesome, then this is the second side. You might do something a wee bit different on this side. You might not push as hard. You might take time in a couple different spots. So I'm looking here as I go over my troublesome foot And I'm just seeing where the tender spots are. I could have some dead spots. That's also important information. So remember, you could be seated and use your fingers to massage your feet, or you could be using that little homemade ball that you did with a towel and some elastics. If you're using the soft towel, then it's more like you're a cat trying to pick something up with your paw. That's kind of the movement rather than trying to roll around on it. And you know what? Make this your own. Figure it out. What works? Now, if you found a spot, and I haven't found a spot, this is the foot that was sore. Oh, there it is. I found it. Sometimes you have to be patient. If you find a spot that's particularly tender, put a little tiny downward pressure onto that spot and just hold there. Take a few breaths. Do your best to release. You're probably finding some adhesions in your soft tissue and you're releasing them. Now, you also can bring the ball underneath the ball of the foot, let your heel come to the floor and waggle and wingle your toes, moving each metatarsal bone separately. You go a little bit more underneath the big toe, then a little bit over to the baby toe side of the foot. Good. And then we'll come to stand in mountain pose one last time. Does it make a bit more sense now what I was saying about how the feet really translate that energy of earth, bring it up to the root chakra, the energy of the feet travel up your legs through the hip joints into the lower belly. They manage your digestion, part of your digestion. So there's a lot going on. Okay, now I'm going to come and I'm going to sit down. You can always sit on a few folds of blanket if you like. Make sure you've got a little bit of room in front of you to play around. And I have my nice flowy pants. I guess I didn't really plan this very well. Bare skin works best on these massage balls, and I think on tennis balls too. So if you can expose your legs, if you have tight cotton yoga pants, you'll be okay. So again, I'm going to go back to the side that gave me less trouble this weekend. I'm going to take the massage ball and I'm going to run it over my calf. So I'm going to put the ball on the ground. I'm going to put my calf on the ball, and I'm going to lean back a little bit onto my hands. And then I'm going to maybe bend this knee so I have a little bit of movement potential. And I'm going to roll up and down. So the ball is rolling up and down my calf muscle. If your hands get tired, just take a break and sit back down. I have to readjust quite a bit when I do this, get it back into the right spot. And then you can roll your leg inward. So your kneecap is pointing in and you're rolling more on the internal or inside calf muscle. And you can roll your leg out. So you're rolling more on the outer calf muscles. There's different sets of muscles there. You don't want to be rolling right on a bone though. Come back here, Mr. Ball. You don't want to be rolling right on a bone. That can be a little bit painful. And again, just like we did with the feet, if you find a place where there's a lot of sensation, maybe you pause there, let your leg get heavy. I found a place, took a little while. Oh yeah, so just a nice deep breath. While you're waiting, you can sit down. You don't have to hold yourself up because you're not moving. Good, okay. So before we move to the other side, we'll just sit in staff pose for a moment and absorb any waves of sensation that might be coming up from your calves. The calf muscles hold a lot of tension with many of us. Tension in the calf muscles directly affects your flexibility in your hips. The tension in your jaw muscle can contribute to headaches. So the calf is such an important part of the body that we so often neglect. I'm going to move over to the other side. Again, this is the side that was giving me a bit of trouble this weekend. So I'm prepared for things to go a little bit differently here. So I'm starting with an up and down motion along the length of the calf, from the back of the knee to the back of the ankle. Anytime you need to rest and just sit because your arms are getting tired, take that time. I found a little spot, so I'm just going to sit for a minute, let my leg get heavy. Take a breath, because it can be pretty intense. But I know I found a little adhesion in my connective tissue. If I could relax through that, the energy and the blood flow would help to bring health to my feet And then of course, all the way up the body as well. You can roll your leg outward. So you're rolling on the outside edge of the calf. Those are your perineal muscles, always super tight on this side for me. They go from your outer knee to your outer ankle bone, more or less. And I found a spot, so I'm going to hang out for a minute. Maybe you're finding a spot as well. And then I'm going to roll the leg inward after I do this and roll along the inside of the calf muscle from the inner knee to the outer ankle bone generally. And see if I can release a little of this chronic tension that I hold in the calves. There we go. Then we can come to sit when you've had a good amount of time to think about that. Again, bare legs work a little bit better, or if you have nice tight pants on. So I've had to keep my pants hiked up here. I'm going to take the massage ball, the tennis ball, or you can use your hands if you don't have either of those props. And I'm going to hand massage my upper thighs where the quadricep muscles are. Again, I'm going to start on the happier side first. You can go to the outside edges of your thigh and around to the inside edges of your thigh. And I'm kind of doing like I'm washing windows with the ball. I don't want to talk about washing windows. It's spring here when we're doing this class live. And there's always way too much window washing in spring. And for me, where I'm really finding a lot of sensation is kind of on the outer half of my upper leg and about in the middle. How about you? Where are you finding the sensation? You're almost the ball, you're asking the ball to kind of collect up the skin and shift it around a little bit. So the layers of epidermis are kind of being rubbed against each other. So if you're using your hands and you don't have the ball, you can kind of almost be doing this sort of thing. So you kind of just shift the layers of skin around and let them glide on each other. And like on all the other parts of the body we've done, if you come to a place where you feel a lot of sensation, like here, I'm pressing down gently the ball into my thigh material and just hoping that I can release that little knot. When you're done this side, take a moment to observe the difference between your two legs. Hopefully the leg that you've worked on, the whole leg, feels a little bit more alive and like it is talking, foot all the way to hip and back. I'm going to go to my thigh now on the other side. This is the sore side, or was this weekend. Just checking it out, doing the same sort of technique. You can work on all the fleshy bits that you discover in your thigh muscle. And again, I'm kind of surprised because I thought I would find a lot more knots here because the foot did kind of go into spasm, but it was the other leg. So sometimes it's best not to try to sort everything out and make a logical story out of it. Just go with what's going on and work with it. So if you find any tense little bits, you can hold there. I haven't found one yet on this side. Every day is different. Every body's different. Yeah. And once you've had a chance to fully explore that, I'm going to put the tennis ball away. Thank you very much. It worked great. We're going to come into our first posture. Now, I'm sure you're familiar with legs up the chair. We do that together a lot. So know that if what I'm about to demonstrate looks like too much work and you'd rather do legs up the chair, you can put a lot of the same principles in place. I'm going to use a few blankets to do this posture today. So let's do a little bit of blanket folding together. So I'm using these cotton Mexican blankets. If you have blankets with fringes, it makes it a bit easier. You see, I folded the blanket once with the fringe here on the bottom. I'm going to continue folding with the fringe together 2 more times to create that long rectangle. I need 1 more blanket folded like that. Let me grab another one from my stash here. So I've got 1 long fold rectangle, got another one that I've made, and I'm going to place that staggered on the bottom one. So I've got like little steps here at the top. The fringe ends are at the same end. I'm creating a little ramp. We've done this together before. You might have a better way in your house of creating this ramp effect, and you don't have to have it. I'm just trying to create a certain effect. So I've got the two long fold rectangle blankets stacked on top of each other, and they're staggered. I'm going to reach down to the fringed end here and flip it up, creating basically 4 stairs. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2 long fold rectangular blankets, fringes together, and then flipped up. And because the blankets were staggered before I flipped them, I've got that ramp effect. I'm going to take that ramp and I'm going to turn it upside down. So carefully flip it. So you have a nice smooth ramp here, ready to go. Now I'm going to do legs up the wall. You might want to do legs up the chair. So here's my wall space. If you're going to do chair, you want the highest end of the ramp close to the chair. I also have another blanket ready to go here. I'm going to be taking this blanket and wrapping it around my legs. This blanket can wrap around your legs if you have your calves resting on a chair. I'm going to show you how to do it when you're up against the wall. If it's cool in your space, you might want another blanket for over top to keep you warm. Now you can put a pillow underneath your head for this. I find when I use a pillow, at first it feels good, but then because my head is held up quite a bit higher than my spine, the neck muscles are pulled long when they're up on a pillow, and the neck muscles out over time feel the tension and the strain. So this is the alternative that I do. I have a little old tea towel, just a stupid little old tea towel, and I'll come a little closer so you can see. I fold it down, so it's not quite folded in half here, and then I fold it up again. So see how there's just a little bit of thickness? This is what's going to go underneath my neck. My head's going to rest here, and then this little tiny fold is going to go underneath my neck. And then what that does is it supports the curvature of your neck. Your head's still a bit padded in the bony part of the base of the skull, but the neck itself is a little bit supported. So this is what it looks like. You might also want an eye pillow if you have one in your house. You notice I haven't put the blanket totally right up against the wall. I've left here about 8 inches. Now my proportions are different than yours, so you might want a different space between the blanket and the wall. But a lot of people feel pressure to get their bum right up to the wall so their legs are perfectly straight. You can do that another time. Today I won't mind if there's a little bend in the knees. In fact, it might be desirable. So I'm going to sit sideways with my bum on the highest part of the ramp that I created. Shift forward a little bit and then throw your legs up the wall. Like I said, please don't feel pressure to have straight knees, and see if you can adjust yourself so that your hips are on the highest part of the ramp and your knees are a little bit bent and your feet rest against the wall. It can take a few tries to get that right, so take your time. Now, the pillow, or sorry, the blanket for around your legs, just bend your knees so that you can reach around and get the blanket around your calves, and then tuck the blanket in between your calves. Now I've got the blanket fairly thick. So what that's doing is it's helping me hold my legs in a parallel position, and my legs feel all cocooned and comfortable. The last thing to put into place is that little thing for underneath my neck that I created. And what I would like to happen is there be fabric just kissing the curvature of my neck, but I don't feel the little roll of towel pushing on my neck at all. I can feel something there, but it feels quite neutral. Now you may also notice that because you've got the blanket ramp underneath you, your arms feel like, wow, that's a long way to the ground. And I just grabbed a block, but a pillow would be better here. You may want to create a little support for your elbow, like an armrest, so that there's no strain on your shoulders. Once you're in position here, I'm hoping this feels almost neutral. Like there's really not a lot going on. You don't have a ton of sensation other than feeling kind of relaxed. This is pretty comfortable. So just check the support underneath your neck. I'm going to need a little bit more tonight. Bodies change day to day, over time. There we go. That's a little bit better. You may need to wrap a longer blanket around your legs. And if you're feeling any chill from your room, make sure you're covered up with a blanket, especially around your toes. Let your hands rest wherever they're comfortable. You might want to take the traditional Shavasana shape with your arms. I find it very comforting to have my hands on the low belly when I do this. And I'm still fussing with my neck support. Haven't got it quite right yet. So it's okay to fuss for a little while, especially if we plan to hold the posture for a period of time. It's okay. You're worth taking that little bit of extra time to fuss. Now, if any of these elements just can't be adapted to suit, you know, you don't like the ramp underneath your back, you need a full pillow under your head, then make those adjustments. All these things that I'm suggesting are just that, suggestions. Once you're settled physically, you can put your eye pillow in place if you like, or just close your eyes. And let's begin the process of really coming internal, of starting to notice even more about what's going on in your experience right now. Our tennis ball or our massage ball experience kind of alerted us to some of the things that were going on in our lower body, areas where we were hiding tension. Now let's expand that a little bit more. Begin by noticing, for example, your mouth. Feeling the inside of your mouth, the upper teeth and the lower teeth, the tip of your tongue, the right side of your tongue, the left side of your tongue. Noticing your lips, your right cheek, and your left cheek. Noticing your right eye, the eyelid, all the small muscles around the eye, the right eyebrow. And noticing your left eye, and the eyelid, the small muscles around the eye, and the eyebrow. Noticing the space between the eyebrows, crown of the head, the back of the head. See if you can sense inside your head, just kind of feeling the electrical activity there, not really having to analyze or figure anything out, but just notice the gray matter in the center of your head. Can you feel the hollow tube down the center of your neck and throat? Feel your right shoulder blade the left shoulder blade. Notice how your right arm is positioned and your left arm. Compare sensations in the palm of your right hand to that of the left. And trace awareness of each of your fingers from your right thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, baby finger, and your left thumb and index finger and middle finger and ring finger and baby finger. So you've experienced the volume of all 10 digits. Notice your right collarbone and your left collarbone. Your rib cage, belly, the right hip, the left hip, the right leg, and the left leg. Comparing the sensations, if you feel anything, in the right foot to that of the left foot. Notice the spaces amongst your toes. Tracing right around your toes, all 10 of them, with your awareness. And then letting your awareness flood back down your legs and through your torso and up through your neck and all the way to the tip of your nose. Feeling the breath move in and out through the nostrils. Noticing the right nostril. Noticing the left nostril. Do you feel air in both nostrils or no? Keeping your sensitivity alive in the nostrils, encompass awareness of your feet, the soles of your feet. Imagine as you inhale, you take air in through your nostrils, and there's this like pathway all the way to the soles of the feet. Maybe the soles of the feet even like puff out or expand a bit when you inhale. And then as you exhale, the energy of the breath falls back from the feet and comes out the nose. It might seem kind of funny to do this at first, but see if you can imagine the soles of your feet almost like they're diaphragms, moving the same way that your thoracic diaphragm does. Can you feel or imagine that you feel this kind of pulsing in your feet as you inhale, and then they collapse or fall down towards the floor as you exhale. Electrifying really the soles of your feet with the energy of your breath. Take a couple more breaths like that. And you're welcome to stay here a little longer. You know, sometimes the restorative poses can be held for like 20 minutes. and they constantly evolve and change and new benefits accrue. So if you want longer, take longer. But if you're ready to let go, gently loosen the blanket that you've wrapped around your calves and bring your knees in towards your chest. I'm going to suggest you roll over to your right side. You may need to go the other way, and that's fine. Rest on your side for a moment, using your bottom arm as a type of a pillow. And take a moment to feel what it's like to have your legs down from the chair or the wall, back level with the rest of your body. Maybe one thing that's changed is you just have a sense of more connection to your feet. Your feet are kind of welcomed into your conscious awareness in a way that they weren't when you were just running around today without much regard for that. Slowly pushing up from the floor. If you're carrying on with me to this work, I'm going to clean off my mat a little bit. I'm going to take those blankets and dismantle my ramp, my carefully constructed ramp. And I'm just going to have one long fold blanket now to cushion my spine. I want to do a little bit of work in bridge pose. So if you would rather just rest, you can take constructed rest. Maybe you chose to stay in your legs up something. All that's just fine. So I'm going to come to lie on my back. I only have the one blanket now. I have no pillow. I have no neck thing going anymore. Good. You might want to have your tennis ball or whatever you were using to create the massage, have that close by. I'm going to do a little bit of work in bridge pose. The objective of doing bridge pose right now is not to get the hips up as high as I can, or any of the other wonderful focuses we can often have in bridge pose. My focus now is feet. So I'm going to start with the traditional foot alignment here, feet parallel. Take a moment to recall the sensations of having that tennis ball or massage ball under my foot earlier, and see if I can remember what it felt like to have such amount of sensation in my foot. And then press your feet into the floor now, trying to connect as much of the sole of your foot as you can to the ground. You can lift and wiggle your toes, roll your feet out and in a couple times. Just try to really spread your feet out like a pancake on a hot griddle. You know how it just spreads out? Good. Okay. And then let's do 3 breaths, really feeling alive in the feet if you can. Inhale, press into the feet, lift the hips. Exhale, lower. And again, these aren't the highest bridge poses you can do. We'll call these mini bridge poses. I've got one more to do here. Inhale up. Exhale down. Then let's change it up a little bit. Let's come to balance on the balls of your feet. So I've lifted my heels up. And again, these are mini bridge poses. 3 breaths. Inhale, press into the ball of the foot, lift. Now see if you can notice a difference in the energy coming up your legs as you hold your feet a little bit differently. Take your time. This is my last breath. And then you can lower the heels, reconnect your feet with the earth. Anything new to report? Now let's just balance on the heels, lifting the toes, lifting the balls of the feet, and try 3 breaths, mini bridge pose. Just little pulses, really, timed with your breath. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Notice how that feels a little bit different. Then rest. Feet fully connected to the earth. Now let's take your toes further apart. So go duck feet, your knees pointing out a little bit. This is very unusual. We don't usually do this in yoga. So again, little pulses. Inhale up, exhale lower. Notice how your feet are communicating with your hips, your low back, your belly in different and novel ways. And then let's do the opposite. Go pigeon-toed with your feet. So the heels are apart, toes kind of facing more towards each other,
And again, just little pulses. Watch your knees here. You don't want to do anything to aggravate that joint. It's just a way of communicating a bit differently between the feet and the body. Excellent work. Relax back down. Bring your feet back in whatever position they're most comfortable. You can even stretch your legs out for a second and do a little mini shavasana if you like. The backs of your legs are tense, that might feel good. You can wiggle your toes, massage your feet into the floor. All right, I've got my tennis ball again, or your massage ball, or the little thing you created with the dishcloth and the elastics. And I'm going to place this under one butt cheek. I'm going to start on the friendly side again, the one that I wasn't having so much trouble with. And I'm going to place the ball underneath the fleshy part of my butt cheek, where, you know, the most flesh is, not in the bone area. And then I'm just going to kind of swing my hips around a little bit. So it's not really bridge pose. I'm not lifting my hips up very high. And I'm just kind of feeling where there might be something interesting in the gluteus area. And you can see I'm moving the ball around and then kind of, you know, massaging into it. And you can kind of push up away from the ball if the sensations are too intense. You don't have to put your full weight on the ball. And like we did before, if you find a place, oh, there we go. If you find a place that's really interesting, you can just pause for a moment, let the weight of your body fall into the ball and just see if you can release that adhered tissue. Working with your breath when you need to stay calm and focused and open to relaxation. There we go. Maybe just another second or two here. See what we find. And you can keep going longer if you like. And then maybe a mini shavasana, if it's okay to stretch out your legs. Can you notice the difference between the two sides of your body? The side that I've been massaging just feels so much more open-minded. I guess that's the way I might word it. It just feels softer, more receptive. And the foot and the buttock muscles now are in deeper contact with each other. You might take a moment to do that breathing technique we did in legs up whatever you had your legs up, where you inhale through the nose and take the energy of the breath right to the soles of the feet, and then exhale breath from the soles of the feet back up, out through the nose. Do you notice a difference in the receptivity of the soles of your feet? Is one sole of the foot a little bit more willing to oscillate with the breath? And then we can go to the other side. So you pace this your own way. You don't have to go at the pace that I'm going. So I'm going to do my other hip now. I'm going to see if I can get that massage ball into some interesting places in the fleshy part of my gluteus area, my butt cheek. And it's always interesting to see what you might find. You don't have to put your full weight on the ball. You can hold yourself up a little bit like you're hovering in a mini bridge. If you do find a spot, you can hang out there. And you know you've got an interesting spot, a good spot, if the sensation starts to diffuse when you massage it. If the sensation intensifies, or you know you get tears in your eyes or something, that's not a good spot. You want to avoid that spot. It's just too tender, or maybe you've got it on a bone or nerve. Yeah. If you do have a lot of inflammation in an area of your body, it's really hot and bothered, a lot of nerve inflammation, then you don't want to do this technique. This is muscular. This is to work on muscular. Yeah. There we go. I'm going to just hold here because I found something interesting. Breathing into it and with it. And then I'm going to go back to my little mini shavasana. We're not going to use the massage balls anymore, so I'll put it away. And just take that little mini shavasana, maybe revisit the breathing technique, nostrils to soles of feet on the inhale, soles of feet back up out the nostrils on exhale. See if you can touch base with that idea of the soles of the feet mimicking a diaphragm. in yoga, we do feel that the arches of the feet are one of the 5 diaphragms of the body. And if they're mobilized and flowing with the breath, everything is mobilized and flowing. Okay, let's bend the knees, roll over to your side. I'm just going to come to sit with my feet on the floor in front of me for a second. Something like this. Once again, becoming aware of the feet and how they're contacted to the mat. You can place your hands wherever they're useful. I'm up on my fingertips. And then let's be interested what happens when we roll over the soles of the feet. So I'm going to roll to the right sides of the feet and then up, trying to touch all the surfaces of the soles of the feet to the floor as I shift now to the left sides of the feet. And then rolling up over my soles of my feet to the right. So we sometimes do this time with the breath and it's about something else. Today, I want to really be curious, if possible, about the soles of the feet. And notice when the soles of the feet become softer and more sensitized, that maybe my hip joints are more willing to do this movement. So I'm trying to soften into this. I'm going to go to each side a couple more times. And even though we're not specifically talking about breathing, try to make sure your breath is flowing in a natural and easy way, that you're not holding your breath. And I've done an equal number to each side now. I'm going to come back up to center and do one more thing from this position before I go to my final Shavasana. I'm going to just take my hands behind my thighs for a little bit of support. I'm going to do a little bit of cat-cow type movement. My focus is going to be the sitting bones. So I do have some padding underneath there, so they're not going to get sore. But see if you can find your sitting bones pointing straight down to the ground. And this is the neutral position of your spine. When you inhale, see if you can roll to the front of your sitting bones. And as you exhale, see if you can roll over the back towards the back of your sitting bones. So it's like your sitting bones are like rocking chair rungs. And we can think about your sitting bones as another pair of feet. Your sitting bones should be in the same position as your feet in order to feel grounded into the earth. So if your sitting bones are equal and touching towards the ground, we're going to feel more grounded than if they're off kilter or not even to the floor. So just approaching this as though you're rocking over the rungs of a rocking chair and the sitting bones are moving from front on the inhale to back on the exhale. And seeing if you can feel the relationship to the soles of your feet as you move over the sitting bones. There's like kind of a deep primal connection there that maybe will present to you. Let's go one more breath. And then let's take some time to set up for our Shavasana. So I'm going to take one of my long fold blankets and create kind of a bolster by rolling it up and making it as fat as I can. Made that pretty fat. And then I'm going to take my other blanket and do the same thing. Now, if you have 2 bolsters, you don't have to do this, but not many of us have 2 bolsters in our home studios. There we go. I'm going to put one on one side of my mat, one on the other side of my mat. I've got the 3rd long fold rectangle blanket to cushion my spine. I've got the roll I made for my neck earlier, got that ready to go again. And if you have your eye pillow, you can use that. Lie down with your knees bent, get your neck sorted out first. There we go. And then see if you can bring the big bolsters you created with your blankets and tuck them right up beside your hips. And then if you drop your knees out and let the soles of your feet come together, do you feel quite at ease here? Like there's no pulling in the groins. Your legs are held up from their full stretch. They're not allowed to pull into a full stretch. If this arrangement of your legs is uncomfortable for any reason, take the bolsters, and I'm demonstrating this, and put each one of those blanket rolls in the high part of your hamstring area. So the upper part of your thigh. So that not underneath the backs of your knees, but underneath the thigh bones. And then let your legs stretch out straight. So if you don't like having the knees bent into cobbler pose, if you can't get some ease there, then straighten out the legs, but put the bolsters we've created underneath the thigh bones, not necessarily the knees. I find for me, and maybe it's just my proportions, but my feet touch the ground more easily when I have that support higher up the leg. Wherever you are, notice if you need to have some warmth, if you want to have a blanket over top as well. And let's once again draw awareness to our feet. Now, depending on the leg variation that you've assumed, you may feel your feet touching each other. Just taking some time to notice if there is any contact between your left and your right foot. What does that feel like? You might imagine or fancy that it's like plugging an electrical cord into the wall socket. When you connect your feet, you've completed a circuit. And there's a little rotation of energy that moves through your body. I'm going to offer you a little bit of imagery now that might help with that. So even if your knees are not in the cobbler's pose, if you've got straight legs, you might still be able to create that connection. So paying attention now to the right side of your body, starting with your right toes, sole of the foot, top of the foot, right heel, ankle, right calf, knee, thigh, your whole right leg, awake and alive in your awareness. Your right hip, right side of your waist, armpit, right shoulder, upper arm, elbow, lower arm and right wrist, the back of the hand, the palm of your right hand, your thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, and baby finger, the whole right arm, shoulder, right side of your neck, jaw, your right ear, right temple, right eye, right side of your forehead, right up to the crown of your head. So as best as you can, moving your awareness up and down the right side of your body exclusively for the next couple breaths. Maybe using that technique that we practiced earlier. As best as you can, focusing wholly on the right side of the body. And now shifting your awareness over to the left side of your forehead, left temple, eyebrow, eye, left cheekbone, side of the jaw, left side of the neck, left collarbone, shoulder, upper arm, elbow, lower arm, left wrist, back of the hand, palm, left thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, and baby finger. Whole left arm and shoulder, left armpit, side of the waist, left hip, left thigh, knee, calf, left ankle, heel, sole of the foot, top of the foot, all the left toes. And for the next couple breaths, giving 100% of your attention, if you can, to the left half of your body, all the places we've mentioned. Even employing that breathing technique we used earlier, so the energy of the breath comes in the left nostril and moves right to the sole of the foot. And as you exhale, the sole of the foot retracts, kind of bounces the energy of the breath back up out the left side of your nose. And then letting all of that go. Just feeling all that attention soften and dissolve. And awareness coming back to the nose. Breathing in and breathing out through the nostrils as best you can. And now creating a circular pattern with your awareness. As you inhale, feel the breath enliven down the right side, down the left side. Move all the way to the soles of the feet. And then at the top of the inhale, feel the soles of the feet expand and even touch each other. Plugging in. And as you exhale, feel the energy sweep or bounce back up both sides of the body and out the nostrils. So there's a complete circuit. Right and left sides of your body plugged into each other through the soles of the feet and through your breath. Try to keep your breath as natural and easy as you can. Quiet. Notice your nostrils, if one nostril gets more air than the other, or if they're feeling a little more even now than when we checked earlier. Let's take a couple more breaths here. And then letting that focus dissolve and soften. So you just fall back into gentle awareness of just being here. And you can stay there in a still position Or we can close our practice with a little bit of gentle rocking movement. If you've decided to take a little bit of movement here, lift your knees and bring them in towards your body. Take your time. You can place your hands on your knees. Your elbows would be straight here. Take an inhale. As you exhale, bend the elbows a little bit and draw the knees a bit closer into the body. Inhale, release the knees away from you, elbows straighten again. And exhale, knees can come in. You don't have to make a really big movement here. The suggestion is it's just a little gentle rocking to soothe the low back. It has the effect also of soothing the belly. And you may notice, if you tune in really, really carefully, you may notice your toes getting just a little bit of tugging or pulling on them as you rock on your pelvis. And once again, we're reminded, once again, we touch base with the connection between the feet, the hips, and the legs, the low back, the belly. We can feel it here. If you move nice and gentle, nice and slow, and really feel your toes in their relaxed state, reacting to this movement. Let's just do a couple more breaths like this. Good. And then you might go back into Shavasana just to absorb that, or you can roll over to your side. Once again, I might recommend rolling to your right side, resting on your bottom arm, leaving your eyes closed for a minute while you finish processing all you've experienced in our restorative class together. And then when it's time to move, or maybe you're still in Shavasana, and that's just fine. We'll come to a comfortable seated position and celebrate our work together by sharing the sacred sound of Om. So I'm inhaling now. Om. Namaste. I'm going to stop the recording. So if anybody would like to unmute.